environmental concerns are a major topic in today's world. How is Thailand looking forward to it?
The governments are giving a lot of innovative schemes and subsidies.
What do you think that how the two countries can collaborate in the aspect of artificial intelligence to head towards a more sustainable future and spread more awareness about issues like climate change?
Artificial intelligence, it is very promising area. You need a very large data set. India has a very large populations. A lot of data points can be taken from to develop the model for the algorithms. And that's why everyone looks up to India as the next leader of the AI development.
So what has your experience been like in living in India in general?
I can feel that you guys can get quite nerdy. I mean, when discussing something that has a deep meaning in it, that is something Indians are quite good at it.
War is the failure of diplomacy. I think this quote best sums up what diplomacy, public policy, and international relations is all about. Hello everyone. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Diplomatic Discourse series. I am Agrim Chaudhary, third year undergraduate student at IIT Kharagpur, and I welcome you all to our brand new initiative. We have with us Mr. Pichaya, who is the official representative of Thailand to India. First of all, thanks a lot, sir, for taking out the time to talk to us. It's a great honor. For the purpose of our viewers, could you kindly introduce yourself?
You're most welcome. Hello everyone. As introduced, my name is Pichaya. I am consul. This is the ranking of diplomatic officers posted here in India. I arrived in Calcutta in June 2022. I've been in Calcutta for 1 year and a half, 18 months already. And I'm very pleased that IIT Kharagpur has approached the Consulate of Thailand in Calcutta to do this diplomatic discourse, which is very interesting in a way that we as the professional diplomats can communicate to you to let you know and have a glimpse of what we work day by day, and so you guys can have a better understanding on the work of diplomacy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. So I'd like to, before we start off about diplomacy and all, I'd like to actually know a bit more about you. As in, what was your upbringing like? Where did you study, and what led you to this, wide field of diplomacy and in the first place?
Okay. As my education, I graduated from economics, international economics was my major, and my career is a bit unique. It's not usual because generally, like Indian Foreign Service examination, people from the country would come to attend the exam in Bangkok, but that wasn't my path. I got a government scholarship when I was in junior high school at grade 9. And I continued my study for 8 years in Tokyo, Japan. And as part of the condition of the government scholarship I received, I have to enroll as a diplomatic officer at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Thailand. So that's, I'm not sure, maybe India has similar system or not. And that's my experience. So I didn't plan from the beginning because when I got the scholarship, I was 15 years old.
Okay.
I just was so happy that, I got to study in Japan and not to stay in an apartment alone without any parents entertaining. That was my number one concern. But after my graduation, I come back to work in 2008. So I've been working as diplomat for 16 years already.
So what started off as a childhood accident, I'm sure has worked out quite well for you, sir. So as you said, you didn't plan a career in diplomacy. So when you first entered this world, what was your first reaction like? What did you think about diplomats and, people wearing black suits and moving around and all of that? What was your first reaction and your first observation about this field of diplomacy?
Right. I think I share some of the confusion by the general public because what we perceive as diplomats usually come from movies and films and entertainment. So we, as you mentioned, we see them on screen dressing nicely, having wine, doing something fancy. But I personally didn't really know what the job of diplomat was. So I struggled. I admit I struggled a little bit on my first years because I didn't know what the expectation of me. I thought it might be like just another typical government jobs with some better English proficiency. But that's not all. As you said, the representation to represent your own country is something unique, something that other government departments doesn't do. It falls upon diplomats only to be the person to speak on behalf of your government or on behalf of your country. So that's quite a revelation for me. And in short, diplomats connect people from all walks of life. I mean, it's not only politics or economy, but anything that has to do between the peoples of the two countries or the world. We must be able to converse about it and make sense of it. So the job description is very long. Yeah, but I can answers to your questions for whatever specific topics or experience that you are interested about.
So, I think I started off with the quote that war is the failure of diplomacy. And I think in the world that we live in today, with regards to war and potential battles of war that might break out, I feel diplomacy and dialogue is obviously has become even more so relevant than it previously was. What has been your experience in this regard, interacting with diplomats from other countries, especially India? And what do you think, how has the world changed in the last, I think, 15, 16 years since you joined service? What has your observation been like, sir?
I would say that I had high expectations on my job. As you mentioned, I believe that the number one job for diplomats is to rein in the crisis of the world. You have to protect your national security, national interest. And I was very much looking forward to see what I can personally do to achieve such goals. But again, in the modern world, I mean, I have come to the realizations that the world is so complicated and human society is so complicated. I have to abandon my naive thinking that one person do this so you can achieve something. That is very simplistic way of thinking. I mean, you have to work as a team, like a hive mind. Yeah, but it is very difficult to attribute what part that you achieved in this outcome. But in a way, the modern human society is very interconnected, and that's part of me growing to become more mature is to understand that it's not your personal contribution or personal achievement that is the central question. The central question is that how can you affect change? It might be very small, it might be very indirect, but I have to warn myself, don't feel despair. Yeah, even if what I do is just 0.001% of the outcome, I still should do it because I have to believe that it's for the greater good. And that would be my answer to what I experienced for these 15 years.
Sure. And I think diplomacy also brings with it an opportunity to represent your nation abroad, which I feel must be a great honor for most people, perhaps all. So what has been your experience in that regard, representing Thailand currently in India, and I think before this might have been in other countries as well. So what has that experience been like, bringing the culture of a nation to all parts of the world?
Apart from India, I used to post it in Jordan. Jordan is in the Middle East. It's neighboring Iraq and Israel. And India is my second country abroad. And I would say that the job requirements are very different. I mean, in Jordan, normally people speak Arabic. They don't speak English as much as Indians do. And so in India, I was able to attend much more events to speak directly with the Indian audience in English. And I'm quite impressed that most of the official events here are conducted in English. So that's opened an opportunity for foreign diplomats like me to be part of. And that's, in a way, made my representation job more challenging, but also more interesting. I can say only from my own experience within Thai Foreign Service, there's no definite term of reference or the mold to say that this is the way that you do in representing your country. It's more like an art form. And we learn the most from great examples of our seniors officials. We will see how they speak, how they conduct themselves, and most of all, you have to be friendly. You have to be open. You have to be. You have to trust in the goodness of the counterparts of the person who speak with.
Yeah.
And you have to believe that by interacting, you can achieve something better. So the number one obstacles is mistrust. I would say I have, as a diplomat, you would have to try to minimize that feeling in order to succeed.
Yeah, and so we talked about trust with friendly allies. I think looking at the world order, one can consider India and Thailand have a deep strategic and cultural alliance. So I think Thailand has pretty nice, Buddhist influence that has pretty much, emanated from India. So in that regard, when you came to India from Thailand, did you see any cultural similarities, any similarities in terms of, maybe not so much in terms of linguistics, but in food, in culture, in behavioral patterns and all? What was your first reaction like in that regard?
Of course, I can say that Thailand and India are very close friends. I mean, as you mentioned, food, culture, language, many things. I can say that we are part of same civilization.
Yeah.
And Buddhism has been spreading out of India into the Southeast Asia more than 2 million years ago.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the foundation of what comes after, like the philosophy, the language, the literature, the architecture, anything that has to do with sophisticated wisdoms of humans. I think we inherit a great deal of India's way of thinking, and that's is still alive and well in the present day. I mean, my name Pichaya. I believe that I can trace its origin back to some of the Sanskrit or Pali words. But I'm not expert on that. but Thai language, in a similar way that English still used a lot of Latin vocabularies, Thai language used a lot of Sanskrit and Pali words nowadays. And food, obviously, is one thing that Thailand and India are quite similar. Curry, spice, coconut milk. This is a common ingredients and way of cooking that connects our two peoples together.
Right. And I think obviously Thailand is a very, beautiful, pristine country. And beyond that, the archaeological sites, dating back to the ancient Buddhist age are there, which is perhaps one of the reasons which I'm sure you must be aware draws a large number of Indian tourists every single year. So coming to that aspect, and I think so in that regard, what do you think about the confluence of, inflow and outflow of tourists to and from India into Thailand in that regard? And what is the current scenario like, in your opinion, with regards to the ease of, getting visas, flight tickets and all of that? And what can be done, if anything, if you feel like?
Sure. I mean, of course, the spectacular natures and delicious foods are always been the number one attraction for foreign tourists to come to Thailand. But particularly with Indian tourists, there is some historical stories to be told. It's festivals like Holy Festival that is kind of transformed into becoming into a water festival or Songkran in Thailand, or Loi Krathong, the floating of pradeep into the rivers to pay respect to the rivers, has some similarities with some festivals here in India. I think in Odisha, they do the floating of the pradeep into the water as well. I think that's this kind of caveats are quite useful in connecting people with one another. The tourists will feel more meaningful in visiting Thailand. It's not just one delicious food or one nice performing arts and you just go back to India, but you will recognize that this is the heritage of the history, and I think that point is quite important in promoting tourism between Thailand and India. Likewise, when Thai people come to India for tourism, number one, they want to follow the footsteps of Lord Buddha, to Bihar, to Bodh Gaya, to Kushinagar, and also Indumiti in Nepal, because they want to do the pilgrimage.
Okay.
And we are very invested in that Buddhist tales that we have been hearing about since we are born, because we are 95% Buddhist countries. But other stories that connect ancient kingdoms together, I think that's another useful tools to bring more Thai tourists to India.
Yeah, and so obviously, as you mentioned, there's obviously a very, there's a great similarity when it comes to culture. So when it comes to the Indian and the Thai diaspora, how do you think the people-to-people ties can be encouraged or promoted by, the governments or by the embassies and all of that in order to further this collaboration and, the confluence of culture?
I think at the moment, Indian and Thai governments has been very supportive of the role of the diasporas in foreign countries to be a part of how to promote relations between the two countries. There's a lot of Indian diasporas in Thailand. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure. I have to check, but maybe it's around 2 or 3 lakhs people of Indian diasporas. They come from all over India. My neighbors, my parents' business counterparts, a lot of them are Sikh Indians, and that's very natural. I mean, people connected by trade, and they settle down, and they feel that Thailand can be their home because of the openness. I myself am Chinese diaspora.
Okay.
I'm third generation Chinese. I would say that I don't have any single Thai person in my lineage.
Yeah.
But again, with the welcoming arms of the Thai society, that's make my ancestors decide that this is a country that they want to live in.
Yeah.
And government can do so much, but they have to be supportive of these foundations. And Thai people also married to another persons in foreign countries, and this is our job of the embassies and the consulates to connect with the Thai communities in the countries that they are in. Like in Calcutta, there are dozens of Thai ladies married to local Indian people here, and we try to bring them in to become a bridge between Thai people and Indian people. We do some like New Year celebration, National Day reception, that we try to organize events to meet them on a regular basis.
Okay, that's very nice to hear, and I'm sure collaborations and initiatives like these will only bring the two countries together. So I think we talked about the cultural impact, the cultural similarities that we have, but on a slightly more sardonic note, the strategic importance I don't think can be overlooked. Like if you look at the Bay of Bengal, I think that serves as a very vital maritime artery for international trade and all of that, and that is obviously a waterway which is, if you look at it geographically speaking, quite close to both India and Thailand. In recent years, obviously, ensuring the safety of these, earlier days, obviously, as you said, you talk about movies and all, you have seen movies about pirates and all, but nowadays, different forms of, threats have come together there. How do you think the two governments are working together or can work together in order to ensure, the co-safety or the cohabitation of the Bay of Bengal and other, strategically important water bodies and water straits?
The topic you mentioned is very timely, and maritime connectivity is very vital to the prosperity of every nation in the globalized world. We cannot live without importing something by sea from our friends abroad. And the Bay of Bengal has always been the important trade routes that connecting Asia with Middle East and Europe.
Yeah.
And the threat of piracy that you mentioned, it is one thing that I can say that most countries will agree on. There's no much disagreements about the necessity to tackle piracy. So the cooperation in questions in Malacca Strait that connect the Bay of Bengal to the South China Sea.
Yeah.
It is one of the most important sea lanes in regards to world trade, and it is very strategic. It used to have piracy problems in the past, but I think because of the cooperation of the countries in the region, that threat has subsided. For now, India and Thailand are both member of the regional cooperation framework that deals with piracy in the Malacca Strait. We have to continue cooperation on that. We need to engage with everyone, including our political opponents. So, because if you don't cooperate with your opponents, you will leave the gap that piracy and unwanted negativity would arise. You can see that in Yemen right now because of the spillover effects from the conflict in Gaza with Israel. Now in Yemen, the insurgent groups threatens the seaways of the sea lanes that goes through the Red Sea. So this is not desirable for anyone.
Sure.
So I think we have to be cautious, but optimistically cautious about the cooperation.
Yeah, you mentioned about the current situation in Yemen, and I think that is unfortunate and undesirable for all the parties involved, because that is obviously, it brings about a lot of loss in terms of trade and novel, I think, travel as well. So when we talk about, I think, trade, there are plenty of free trade agreements between India and Thailand, which has increased the volume of trade as well as the capacity, the net asset that is there considerably over the last 4 or 5 years. In this regard, as a key stakeholder, I wanted to know what are your thoughts on balancing open trade and at the same time protecting the interests of the domestically manufactured goods. Balancing that, what is your thoughts as a key stakeholder in this? What do you think, sir?
It is very vital questions that has been asked all the time. When doing trade liberalizations, in principle, countries would come together to negotiate the rules of the game, and from one time to another, the rules will benefit some segment of the society, and that's probably what you are mentioning. That some may lose, some domestic industries may lose as a result of concluding free trade agreements with certain countries. I think, from my personal opinion, we need to have an honest and non-politicized discussion platform so that different interest groups in the countries can come together. Of course, we cannot please everyone,
I'm sure.
but there have to be a better way that people with different ideas can come together and agree on the direction forward, and that has to be done in tandem with nurturing healthy political culture, because at the end of the day, the government will call the shot. If the people has more trust towards the government, then the credibility and the support towards any agreement that the government is going to conclude will become more long-lasting and durable. If people doesn't have trust in what the government is going to do, then whatever agreements, whether it's trade or anything else, it won't last very long.
Yeah, of course. Do you think over the last 5-6 years or something, there has been a greater amount of greater number of doors that have been opened for foreign trade, foreign investment, and a bit of an ease down in terms of the regulations and taxation laws that have been there? Do you think it has become a bit easier, especially with regards to India?
With regards to India, as far as I know about it, Thailand has one free trade agreement, bilateral one with India, and another multilateral one is ASEAN-India free trade agreement. I say this because normally trade negotiations falls under Ministry of Trade or Ministry of Commerce. So as a foreign service, you have to know about it, but we are not the one who have the direct control about it. So I would say that with regards to India, I think every country, including India, it will take time. Society and industry change rapidly. Whatever attitudes people or countries as a whole had 5 or 10 years ago may not hold true today. So when collectively one country comes to realization that it's the better way forward to lower the barriers with regards to trade, I think naturally that countries will go towards the direction of liberalization. but as you see, many backlash in recent years that people talking about anti-globalization. Globalization is dead. I think it's not dead, but governments and people have to be more mindful of the impact, whether it's positive or negative, from trade liberalization, and so that all groups in the society can tolerate change in a way that they feel justified and inclusive.
So you mentioned about multilateral trade agreement, and obviously Thailand is a member country of the ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and India, though not a member country, I think has been an important observer in that. But I understand my voice is not as melodious, so it will make the interview very boring if I just go on. So I'd like my friend Prithvi to take over on that regard.
Sir, talking about tourism, so what do you think that increasing tourism will also increase the people-to-people connection between our countries? And sometimes people-to-people connection play a great role in diplomacy, right? So apart from visa on arrivals, what else can the two countries do to increase people-to-people connection and in general tourism in our countries?
Right. Tourism is a big topic for Thailand and India. I think before COVID-19 pandemic, there's almost 20 lakhs, 2 million Indian tourists visiting Thailand every year. But on the other hand, Thai tourists is a bit lower. I mean, only 2 or 3 lakhs coming because we are much smaller population comparing to India. Right now, first time ever, the Thai government decided to lift the requirement for visa for Indian tourists on a temporary basis from December last year to May the 10th, 2024. We hope that this new scheme will help make it easier for Indian people to travel to Thailand. I think more and more countries are looking toward to get away with the visa requirements to make it more comfortable for people to travel from one country to another. But I get asked a lot whether ASEAN, South Asia would go the same direction as Europe, whether we will adopt Schengen visa, something like that. I think it's still far away. I mean, we are not like Europe in a way that we want to achieve political unity. So I think to ease the burden of the visas requirements, I think it's a noticeable trend that many countries will follow in the coming years.
So environmental concerns are a major topic in today's world. The world is looking towards net zero carbon emission and green energy. So the world is looking forward for United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. So it is our responsibility to educate people about the environmental changes that are happening and going green. So how is Thailand looking forward to it? Is Thailand doing something to integrate things about climate change in their education system?
Right. I think what young people are being educated today is quite different from what I attended at school, I think 25 years ago. And climate change, I would say that it is number one challenge for our future. And recently, the Thai government has created a new government department we call the Department of Climate Change and Environment. So this reflects our urgent concern that we have to redouble our efforts to rectify the problem of climate change and carbon emissions. And in general, I would say that the Thai government policy towards climate change rests upon the adoption of electric vehicles. I don't know it's applicable to anyone or not. We used to call ourselves Detroit of the
Okay.
So because we produce so much pickup trucks and vehicles, so we want to turn our fossil fuel based vehicles production into the EVs. So that's the strategy that the government is trying to achieve. The adoption rate of EV in Thailand right now is about 8.7%.
Okay.
So it has roughly double from the year before. So I think similar to India, governments are trying to persuade people to change their lifestyle to become more environmental friendly. And another area is to try to do more sustainable agriculture, because agricultural products are one thing that Thailand prides itself of. Obviously, Thai food products are the thing that make Thailand known to the foreign countries. So the governments are giving a lot of innovative schemes and subsidies, so the farmers can convert the byproducts and agricultural waste into something useful, like biofuel or bioplastics. That's two things that I can be certain is the EV and sustainable agriculture.
So just following up on that, obviously a lot of countries are trying to do a lot of things with regards to climate change on a very individual basis. But what do you think with regards to eventually obtaining a goal that is common, that falls under a common umbrella? With regards to that, what do you think about the nation-to-nation collaboration? Like obviously there are things you want to do on an internal basis, but do you think there is something that is being done or that can be done between any two countries in general and between India and Thailand in particular in order to foster this talk and the goals towards climate change and net sustainability?
Right. I agree with you that you mentioned that what a pair of two countries can do together. At the background, we can see that the global negotiation for climate change has stalled. It doesn't progress as fast as we wish it to be. And so we have to do two prongs. At the global level, we still continue to negotiate our emission targets. Whenever a country aims to achieve net zero, they can just announce so. But between the two countries, Thailand and India, we have to share experience and expertise to one another. India is an upcoming country with regards to renewable energy and solar power. India is the proponent of the International Solar Alliance, which is a framework to promote solar power adoption worldwide. Thailand is looking forward to engage with India more in this framework. It is a member already, and Thailand is also investing in India's renewable energy. And there's India company is named Avada Energy, which operates several solar power plants across India, including Bihar. And Thailand's becoming a major stakeholder in this company. So I think green energy is the way forward that our countries can work together.
So technology is something that would be used to not only increase awareness about sustainable development, but also we can take and use modern technologies like artificial intelligence to head towards a more sustainable future. So what do you think that how the two countries can collaborate in the aspect of artificial intelligence to head towards a more sustainable future and spread more awareness about issues like climate change?
That's quite advanced questions. but I, from my personal view, artificial intelligence is very promising area. But you need a very large data set so that your model of prediction become more and more reliable. And on that part, I think because India has a very large populations, a lot of data points can be taken from to develop the model for the algorithms, and that's why everyone looks up to India as the next leader of the AI development, and that's experience, that's expertise will be very useful for smaller countries, including Thailand. If India can come up with some kind of global initiative in utilizing AI for the greater good, for the sustainability, I think that will elevate India diplomacy to a high level.
So education has a huge role to play in one's life. So how can Thailand and India collaborate in the educational aspect? Can universities partner, or how can we move ahead with increasing more educational collaboration between India and Thailand and more research funding for different projects?
Right. Educations. I think the Indian government is doing a great job in promoting awareness among Thai students and scholars. There's several Indian studies at Indian book corners in Thai University established by the Embassy of India in Bangkok. And of course, partnership between universities would help bringing younger students closer to one another. But my idea is that it's not only about the structure, but it's about the storytelling. Of course, you can have the cooperation framework between the governments and the universities, but you have to come up with a story how to sell to the students. Why is it so interesting to learn about Indo-Thai cultural relations or historical ties between our two countries? Everything needs a marketing, I think, and it applies the same for education cooperation. So it has to be relevant to modern audience. I personally, I don't like what I have been taught at school about India, because I thought it sounds really outdated and really stuffy, and it offers me nothing useful for my life. That I'm using social media and connecting with people on the platforms. So something that entices young people that is still relevant to your modern way of living. It's not something that's the old tales as old as 2,000 years old, but you have to find some way to convince people that even if it's 2,000 years old, it still matters today, and it is fun. It will make you popular on social media somehow. That we have to come up with creative ideas to do the education issue.
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned about education, and even I feel that the curriculum in general, at least in India, I can speak for, needs to be revamped slightly more to include the current world order that we live in, and to make it slightly more interesting for the students. So I think you mentioned at the beginning that this is the second country that you have been posted in, right?
Right.
Yeah, the second country that you have been posted in. And so what has your experience been like in living in India in general? I mean, and I'm not talking from the perspective of living here as a diplomat or as an official representative, just in general. What has been your overall experience with regards to the Indian people, their their behavioral nature, their attitude, the food and all of that, the climate? What has your experience been like, sir?
I would say that Indians are much more superior in terms of communication comparing to Thai people. Maybe it's something to do with the upbringing, the attitude, the linguistic capability. But all in all, even if Indians doesn't converse in English, I can feel the energy to talk to one another, to try to make yourself understood to the foreigners. This is the quality that I noticed vividly, because it's the difference that Thai people can be said that they are more reserved. They don't talk much if they don't know you. But Indian people, you guys always make yourself known out loud in the open, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's make Indians a great communicator, and that makes Indians become CEOs of global companies.
Yeah,
because you guys are such a great at talking and conveying ideas. I think Indian peoples are quite philosophical. I mean, it's a birthplace of many important religions.
Sure.
And I can feel that you guys can get quite nerdy. I mean, when discussing something that not as a supranational level, but something that has a deep meaning in it. That is something Indians are quite good at it, I would say. And apart from that, India is a country of great diversity, and for better or worse, in inequality as well. I mean, the richest person and the poorest person are so vastly different.
Nice part.
And well, inequality exists in every country, but it shows itself in the most extreme way in India. But I think that's the fact. It's not good or bad in itself, but that's the fact that foreigners would come and be amazed about it.
Yeah, that's I think a very honest observation on your side, sir. You mentioned obviously about philosophy and spirituality, and obviously the fact that so many major religions have basically stemmed or kind of rooted themselves from this land, from this very homeland, lends us a certain blend of spirituality to almost everyone who is born here, or even everyone who comes here. You're currently, I think, based in Kolkata. You said, sir.
Right.
Have you been to some other parts of India? Any other cities or towns? Anything?
Yes. My nature of my work, I have to travel because our consulate in Calcutta, we are responsible for 5 states and 1 territory in India. It's West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and Andaman and Nicobar. So I got to travel a lot, particularly in Bodh Gaya, because as mentioned, Thai Buddhist pilgrims visit Bodh Gaya a lot. I think it's about 80,000 people before 2019. Every year, Thai people would come to Bodh Gaya, and Bhubaneswar, Chennai, Darjeeling, Port Blair, and Jamshedpur.
With regards to traveling, obviously, I think we mentioned about the large number of Indian tourists who flock to Thailand every single year. I think all of us know about Bangkok and some of the other islands there, but is there any uncharted territory or maybe underrated places in Thailand that you'd recommend, not just Indians, but in general, anyone to visit, that are not so much broadcasted, but are beauties in themselves?
Right. I think it's a similar story when not only about Thailand, but India also has unseen or hidden destinations that foreign tourists doesn't know much about. For Indian tourists, I would say that they know a lot about Bangkok, about Pattaya, about Phuket. Chiang Mai in the northern part has become more and more popular. But I think the northeast of Thailand, that is bordering Laos and Cambodia, this is another region that might be interesting. It's a totally different culture. It has a lot of influence from the Khmer culture, like Angkor Wat, that kind of stone relief things, Hindu influence from Chola dynasty. That's temples and palace ruins with stories with the connection to ancient India. I think that's another region that can be upcoming for the Indian tourists.
So you mentioned that you find a lot of differences between what you read about or heard about India and what India you live in right now. So can you list down some of the differences that you earlier read or heard about, and right now you're living in India? So what are the differences that you see?
That's one hearsay stereotype that Thai people, including myself, have towards Indian people. But when I come to live in India and interact with actual Indian people, I would say that it's not all true. Not all people are cunning or trying to be honest about you. But Indian people, like Thai people, there are a lot of good people. There are always some bad people.
Yeah.
But the way of thinking or the way that people expect transparency or honesty from one another, I think that's the thing that you have to meet the person from that countries and know, to gauge that expectation and to know by heart. Okay, this is the thinking of the Indian people. This is what he or she expects from me. And when you got some understanding of that, I think it's a lot easier.
I think that follows along the lines of we feel what we don't understand or what we don't know. Just to cap off this conversation, we talked about the ASEAN, the association, obviously, and the summit that is held almost annually. India, though not a member country, has been an observer in the observer category for almost all of the summits. What do you think, or what do you perceive about like with regards to the G20 summit? We have the NATO, the G20, and all of that. And in some ways, a lot of people believe that has transformed the world from being firstly bipolar to unipolar to now it's like a multipolar or a multilateral world. In that regard, what do you perceive about the importance of organizations like the ASEAN in ensuring that the hegemony of a particular nation or alliance does not overrule or override the entire world order?
That's a very huge question. And yes, we have seen a lot of rapid changes in our geopolitical landscape in recent years. It used to be said that 21st century will be the Asian century. So that still holds true. I mean, demographic advantages still favors Asian continents over other developed nations and other regions in the world. And we for my personally, I cannot say that multipolar world is going to be better than the bipolar or unipolar world. That you have everything is like in the family. Unipolar world can maybe close to a family that has a very strong-minded father. What he says is what's to be done. Nobody argue with him. You can say that maybe that family has a stability, but maybe there's some hidden resentment are going to boil up. So I think the world, in the analogy of the family, is the same. You cannot say that this type of arrangements is going to work. You have to have a lot of communications, and a lot of grievance and voice need to be heard, and trust needs to be built. And as you mentioned, the G20 and a lot of other frameworks that India is a part of. India is also part of BRICS country. I think that's just, all of that are positive things because it create more bridges, create more connection, even with your political opponents, as I mentioned. So we have to keep the communication going, never stop talking to one another, and try to come up with some mutual agreement what the rules of the game should be. And if I'm not happy with that kind of rules, how can I appeal? How can I make changes in a way that is acceptable to everyone? I think that's a challenge ahead that every country need to find a way.
Yeah, you mentioned about this possibly being the century of the Asians, and I think it's high time that the global South finally punches above its weight and gets known for what it is capable of. I think that's a pretty nice note to cap up this conversation. First of all, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, thanks a lot, sir, for taking out the time. We understand, given your commitments, taking out precious 1 hour, 1.5 hours to talk with us was an unbelievable experience for us. And I'm sure everyone watching this video will be greatly enlightened by your thoughts and your views on whatever we talked about. And it will go a long way in educating the people about the literacy of the world order that we live in.
You're most welcome, and thank you again for letting me be part of this discourse. I'm not expert in any single topic that you raised about today, but this is to show to you that being a diplomat, being the bridge between countries, you have to be able to make sense of many things that you don't know a lot about, but it falls upon your job to convey the correct message and to make positive outcomes by doing so. So I hope this is how diplomat in real life looks like, and I would be happy to share my thoughts and my experience in another edition, and I look forward that the Thai Consulate can work together with IIT Kharagpur in the future.
That's obviously, it would be our privilege to collaborate with you again. So to sum it up, friends, we live in a world where we are constantly weighed down by the thoughts of incarceration and war, yet uplifted by the hope for a better world ahead. This conversation was about the diplomacy between countries and the world order that we live in and we hope to live in. Thanks a lot for joining in. This was the first edition of the Diplomatic Discourse series, and we hope to be back talking to more seasoned diplomats and more representatives in India about our country, our world, and a common global family. Thanks a lot. It's a wrap up from us.